Still more, I need your love. I need God to lonely rivers flow to the sea, to the open arms of the sea. Lonely rivers cry, wait for me. I'll be coming home. Wait for me. For my love, my darling, I will be nights in white satin, never reaching the end. Letters I've written, never meaning to send. Beauty I'd always missed with these eyes before. Just what the truth is, I can't say anymore, 'cause I love you. Yes, I love you. Gazing at people, some hand in hand, just what I'm going through, they can't understand. Some try to tell me thoughts they cannot defend, just what you want to be, and I'll love you. Yes, I'll love you. sit white satin, never reaching the end. Letters are written, never meaning to send. Beauty I've always been, with these eyes before. Just what the truth is, I can't say anymore. Yes, I love
Hey guys, how's everyone doing? Oops.
There's a lady who's sure all it glitters is gold, and she's eyeing the stairway to heaven. When she gets there, she knows if the stores are all closed, with a word she can get much clearer. And she's buying a stairway. There's a sign on the wall, but she wants to be sure, 'cause you know sometimes words have meaning. In a tree by the brook, there's a songbird who sings. Sometimes all of our thoughts on this thing. There's a feeling I get when I look to the west, and my spirit is crying for me. In my thoughts I have seen rings of smoke through the trees, and the voices of those who slept. Makes me wonder. Makes me wonder. And it's whisper that too. If we all call the tune, then the piper will lead us to reason. And a new day will dawn for those who stand long, and the forest will echo with laughter. If there's a bustle in your intro, don't be alone there. It's just a sprinkling for the make queen. Yes, there are two paths you can go back, but in the long run, there's still time to change the road you're on. And it makes me wonder. Your head is humming and it won't go, in case you don't know. The piper's calling you to join him. Dear lady, can you hear the wind blow? And did you know your stairway lies on the whispering wind? She's buying the stairway to heaven. From the beginning, we've dreamed of creating a better future. Now, we're setting out to be carbon neutral by 2050. And we're going to keep dreaming, no matter where we go.
Okay, here we go. How is everyone doing? Did you see that this is going to be a really long live chat? We started it, what, about 15 minutes ago? So I think if we make it to 1 o'clock, I think we should be able to call it a good marathon live chat. If we don't make it to 1 o'clock, oh well. I know it. Me too, Winter. I love Bon Jovi. Woo! Although if you look at his videos, he looks like he's like so young. But I don't ever remember him looking like he was so young. Have you guys ever done that trivia thing? It's totally off the wall. But a friend of mine and I were out last night, and we did this trivia thing. We didn't go out to do the trivia thing. We were out, and then all of a sudden this guy starts DJing the trivia thing. So, you know, I look at him, he looks at me like, yeah, let's go ahead. Why not? I figured, well, he's pretty smart. I'm no dummy. Maybe we'll, and they had prizes. Oh my gosh, they had big prizes. So I had to get my phone all hooked up and everything. That was an IQ test all in and of itself. That was tricky, but I had to get my phone all rigged. And then, of course, the couple at the next table, the wife, she was just hilarious because she was just like giving us the answer, which was great because the first part of it was all about history stuff. And she's a teacher, so she knew a lot of stuff. But it was so funny. If you ever want to get to know someone, like someone who you think you know, but then you go to a trivia thing and you really learn a lot more about that person, right? It was so funny because I had the phone in my hand, but of course he had the answers. And what we didn't know, the couple at the next table, the wife knew pretty much. Or we figured her guess was better than ours. So we kind of had a series of how I either knew the answer right off the bat, or whatever he would say, I would think, could that be it? If she from the next table didn't give us the answer or give us her best guess, then I would go with my hunch instead of his hunch. And each time he would just shake his head because he would very clearly tell me the answer, but I would take the answer that I wanted. So anyway, there's just a little nonsense for you. Just a little trivia about trivia. It was fun. A lot of fun. So here we are, trying to make it through, I think, a 5-hour live chat. And I'm doing that because I've just been so remiss in my duties, haven't I? I've been like, hey guys, let's do a live chat. And then I don't do one. Or I say, whoa, if you sign up for that Bumble Rumble crap, man, I couldn't figure it out. I have to do some kind of code key crap, whatever, I don't know. So I thought, nah, we'll stick with YouTube. And my poor patrons, I keep, doing one video thinking, okay, I'll do a series of 5 on this topic. And the first one's always good. Sometimes the second one even gets done. It's just like the books that I write, right? The last couple of years, I've just had such a tough time getting any of them back up on Kindle. I get to the point where, okay, it's done. And then it's like, oh, I have to go through it just one more time. And then when I go through it one more time, I think, well, I should add this and take that out and move this around. And And pretty soon, I'm doing a live chat and telling you that I'll get the book done, but the book still isn't done. So that's what the 5 hours is for. So this is like a cleansing of all promises to date. So it's a fresh start. We'll do a 5 hour live chat. We'll talk about whatever you guys want to talk about. Although I do want to start off talking about Munchausen by proxy for sure. I don't know if we could talk about that for 5 hours straight, but hey, if that floats your boat, count me in. I'm ready to try. But we can talk about other stuff too. How to make your own breast milk. We're good at that, right? Not how to make your own breast milk. What is it called? How to make your own formula. We're good at making our own breast milk too, but you got to be pregnant for that. So no. We're good at, talking about menopause, perimenopause, the rhythm method for birth control. But I think most of all, I think we're most talented when it comes to discussing the case of Christopher Watts. Because seriously, I think that our channel is the one channel. I mean, I'm not trying to diss anyone, whatever, but I don't know of any other channel where they're actually just discussing the case, where they're not somehow part of some false narrative or prepared scripts. Here, we just show up and we talk. And I think that's where the real deal is. I like the word authenticity. I think there's an authenticity with this channel that I don't see on any other channel. Any other channels that are, discussing the case of Christopher Watts. So let's dig right into the issue of Munchausen by proxy. Have you guys watched the case? It's going on right now. It's out of Florida. It's the Kowalski family. It's a civil case, not a criminal case. The Kowalski family versus Johns Hopkins. It is so interesting. If you want to learn more about Munchausen by proxy, in my opinion, that is the case to watch. Johns Hopkins, now I might get some of these details wrong, and it's pretty new, but just if you go into the YouTube search thing and put in the name Kowalski, or probably just put in Johns Hopkins, it should come up. It's so interesting. Johns Hopkins. Oh, I want to start off by saying Netflix actually made a movie about this family, and specifically about the daughter named Maya. She has some rare disease, and she has pain from the rare disease. And her mother, I think her mother's name was Briata. Her mother and her father took little Maya into many different doctors and hospitals and whatever, many. And the mother was very aggressive. She was an RN, and she was aggressive. And Johns Hopkins was concerned for little Maya's safety. It turned out that when they took little Maya to Johns Hopkins, the mother was demanding all sorts of really high doses, according to the standard at Johns Hopkins, a very high dose of, what's it called, ketamine or something like that? I don't know. I think it was a ketamine. I don't know for sure. But it's supposed to be a super high dose of it in order to help her with pain. And also, the parents, I don't know if both of them went, but her mother did, would take her to Mexico, and she actually would be put in Mexico, alternative treatment, right? Because it isn't allowed in the United States as far as what I can figure from listening to this trial so far. So they put the child in a ketamine coma. A child, a ketamine coma. And get this, the risk of death for that treatment, the risk of death, the fatality rate is for the risk, is what surfaced in the trial, is 50%, 50%. Would you ever take your child to Mexico and have her undergo a treatment that would put her in a coma with knowing the risk was 50%? Not 15%, 50%. I'm probably the only person, nah, I bet you a lot of you guys are too. You know, when Netflix does a movie like that Making a Murderer series, you know, how people went like, woohoo, poor little innocent Stevie, you know, poor or what was his name? Brendan. Poor Brendan Dassey. Poor Brendan Dassey. Baloney. I'm sorry, Brendan Dassey was not tricked into any confession. And little Stevie and poor little Brendan, in my opinion, are right where they belong. Anyway, Netflix did a movie about him, and then all of a sudden, everyone, on social media and in the news and everything, oh, poor Stevie Avery. Ooh, Stevie, really? How about Monster Avery? Poor Brendan. Poor little Brendan. No, Brendan wasn't little. Their victim was little. So anyway, I don't like Netflix. Just my opinion. I think they are too often not presenting the truth. And I'm not saying that they're out there lying, but you know what? I think actually by not presenting it in a truthful way, it's not like all this stuff that's known isn't hard for Netflix to find out when they want to do a documentary. How hard is it to check the facts, right? You see what I'm saying? So, but why is it over and over again? It seems like Netflix comes up with something. Well, I don't know, whatever. I mean, if you like Netflix, enjoy it. But I'm at the point where I don't watch Netflix anymore. I don't watch Dr. Phil. I don't watch Oprah. I don't. Because for me, over time, I've just seen kind of a pattern going on that it makes you wonder. It makes me wonder what's really true. So, anyway, Netflix did a movie about this case that I'm talking about with the Kowalski family and Johns Hopkins. Well, Netflix, did some movie, and I no doubt about it, they probably had music in the background just like they did with Making a Murderer. They probably had the right music, the right lighting, the whole sensational thing. Or maybe it's more than that. Maybe the way they play the music, the way they do their stories, maybe there's a way that they know how to tap into the subconscious mind. Because music goes past, directly past, without having to be processed. Never thought of that. I wonder if people would watch the movie Making a Murderer without that music, if they would be so quick to believe that little Stevie Avery and little Brendan Dassey were wrongly convicted. That'd be an interesting experiment to remove the soundtrack, right? Remove the background music. That would be a good study. If so, just imagine if you could do like 50 people watching the movie with music, 50 people watching the movie without the music, and then ask them key questions about the case. Wouldn't that be interesting to see which group was able to think more logically about actual facts? Yes, Grateful Mama, I saw the trailer for that. Candace Owen did a series debunking Making a Murderer. However, I kind of wonder about her too. I seriously do. I kind of wonder about her too. I think it's good that she is pointing this out about making a murderer, but I just wonder how it can be that she flipped in her thoughts in one day. I don't mean about making a murder, I mean about her political beliefs. She flipped in one day, she changed course. So I just kind of wonder how that can be. So this family is suing Johns Hopkins for over $200 million. And I don't know exactly what they're suing him for. I should probably get I do have it on my computer. I should get the complaint. Let's see if I can find it. Instead of sitting here and saying I don't know what they're suing for, I should just look it up. I know I have it. Now the key is if I'm going to be able to find it on my computer. Uh-oh, that's yawn number 2. Let's see. Interesting. I just pulled up something where a few of the defendants were released from the case. Okay, this isn't going to get me anywhere. Let's see. I don't know if you can hear me very well or not, but let me just do the first sentence here. Okay, it's the father individually and on behalf of his children, a minor, his daughter Maya and his son Kyle, a minor, and as personal representative of the estate of his wife, petitioner versus Johns Hopkins, All Children's Hospital, Johns Hopkins Health System Corporation, Inc., Suncoast Center, Inc., Catherine Beatty, and Sally Smith, MD, respondents. I'm not sure how many of these defendants got released, but I think Sally Smith and Catherine Beatty both did. And I think Suncoast. So, they're suing for a couple $100 million. I gotta flip back and find you guys. Where are you? I've lost you. Let's see. There you are. Sprinkled Donuts yawning too. So they're suing for a couple $100 million. Okay. The mom committed suicide. Well, we're not supposed to say that word on YouTube, right? So the mom committed self-harm, if you know what I'm saying, right? And that's part of what they're suing about. And then the other part is that they're suing for basically like false imprisonment or whatever, because what happened is the hospital had warning flags that the mom was a Munchausen by proxy mom, and that her daughter, little Maya, was a victim of medical abuse. So the family is suing, blaming the hospital. So I don't get it. I don't get it. And, when I first started hearing about this case, I was like, I don't know. I don't really have a lot of information right now, but with what I know so far, I don't think Johns Hopkins did anything wrong. Well, that was like a week and a half ago, and I've learned a lot since then about the case. And I'm still saying, I don't think Johns Hopkins did anything wrong. Maybe if Bella and Cece were taken to Johns Hopkins, and maybe if the same people were working when Bella and Cece were taken there, maybe they would be alive today. Maybe they would have been protected. So if we have a hospital taking the heat because some social mind-bending platform makes movies and puts music on them and tries to make people think that Johns Hopkins is some kind of evil, then what does that do to our children who we are actively promoting awareness on issues of child abuse, including Munchausen by proxy? What happens then if some mind-bending platform makes a movie to get everyone's, touchy-feelies going? And I don't mean to minimize it. It's a tragedy, of course, that little girl's mom ended her own life. That's a tragedy. But is it Johns Hopkins' fault? Well, I think their lawyers would argue yes, because they, reported and had caseworkers and did all this stuff, and it went to court, and the court ruled that the little girl was going to stay in Johns Hopkins with supervision, and they restricted the mom from seeing her, and they did allow supervised phone calls. They did allow the dad to see her, which I don't quite understand, because it seems to me like they were kind of the pair. Why is it only the mom who then From what I understand, now correct me if I'm wrong, I think the mom was being investigated. Like, I think it was a criminal investigation for child abuse, for medical child abuse at the time of her death. Oh, by the way, the little girl, even though she supposedly still suffers from some rare disease that causes pain, although it's not exactly like a disease that you can necessarily positively know that you have it, kind of like the whole lupus thing. Not that it's lupus, I'm not saying that, but you know how with lupus, you can have the markers for it, they can do whatever kind of test and say, oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Pretty much. Or maybe it's more like the fibromyalgia one. Pretty much it's a clinical diagnosis, right? I don't know for sure about the whole Maya movie and everything, but it sounds to me like Johns Hopkins did the right thing. And I do not believe that we as a society need to be chastising Johns Hopkins for attempting to protect a little girl from a mother, and I would argue a father also, who would take the child to Mexico and subject her to some treatment where one out of every two, the fatality rate or risk was one out of two. Putting her in a coma? How can this be? Are we supposed to say, "Ooh, big old bad mean Johns Hopkins"? Because that lady, you know what she did, right? Oh, so it has to be Johns Hopkins' fault. No. Angelica says, I think Maya would die from ketamine overdose if the hospital did not step in. I absolutely agree. I absolutely agree. Sprinkle Donut says, so many people are so good at the blame game. Exactly. Exactly. I don't, I just don't. It's just my opinion. Everyone's free to have whatever opinion you want to have. That's what this channel is about. That's cool. But I don't think Johns Hopkins did anything wrong. I don't. We've talked about Munchausen by proxy for 5 years straight. Maya's mom appeared, in my opinion, she appeared to be a classic case of Munchausen by proxy. She was argumentative. She ordered the staff around. She was an RN. She knew all the medical jargon, of course. She was on it, man. She was on top of it. She told them what to do. And what she was telling them to do was not something that they did. Exactly right, Angelica. The moment the hospital separated the mom and the daughter, the child got better. And then think about some of the testimony that we're hearing. It sounds to me like the child was fine until mom came in the room. And it sounds to me like her own father said that she would be fine, and then her mother would come in the room. I listened just today, as a matter of fact, I listened to part of the testimony of the physical therapist, and I had listened to it already last week when she testified, but today I just zipped through a few of the things I had looked at because I knew I was going to be doing this live chat. I heard something that I hadn't heard, or I heard it, but I hadn't really noticed it last week. And it was interesting because I was actually busy with other stuff. I was just in my notebook on the computer, but I had this on like a different window just playing in the background. And all of a sudden, it was Maya. And I'm, like I said, I was doing something else. But I could listen to the testimony just kind of like I had the volume turned down. But when Maya started, it was when her mother evidently walked in. Her mother was taping it, videotaping it. Her mother was there going, "Oh, good job," kind of thing. And she went, I didn't hear her at all. And then, ah, ah, ah. And then she would say something like, how's that go? Get her up, not get her up. What is it? What's the, shoot, I can't remember. Like if you're not a cowboy, but if you're going to say, I don't know. If you can think of that little phrase, she went from saying that cute little phrase as a little kid, you know, because the physical therapist, you could hear the physical therapist saying, talk to the pain, talk to your leg, whatever, try to talk through it. And she was just like so brave. And, oh, she was able to walk with all the assistance that, whatever. And she was such a trooper, such a hero. Oh boy, oh boy. And then it was, and then she would say that strong, And here's where my brain went. Tell me what you think. My thought was, I wonder how young the physical therapist was. And I have the same thought with teachers and with any pediatrician and really with any nurse and with any dentist and with anybody if they have any influence or if they're in a position to care for small children. I think there should be a prerequisite that they have to give birth first, because there is a certain kind of wisdom that we mamas get when we give birth, and we all know it. The way she sounded in that video, and I think because I wasn't watching the deposition, or it wasn't even the deposition, it was a testimony, I believe, of the physical therapist, during which they played this little short video. I think because I wasn't watching it, because I was focused on something else, that her incessant whining really came through in a different way, right? And when I heard it, I just, giddy up, giddy up. There we go. Sorry, I'm tired. Too many carbs today. Yeah, she would do giddy up, horsey. And she sounded like she was doing fine and she was, making the effort and everything was fine. And then it'd be, It's just like, what? Well, if you're a mom, there's a certain value in knowing when your kid is, I don't know, wanting to get out of cleaning their room or something, right? Or poking trouble, right? He's picking on me. Mom, Moms know. And dads too. Moms and dads know when a child is, I don't know, playing them, manipulative, something. And to me, I'm going to go ahead and try to find that. Let's see if I can find that. I don't know if I can, but if I can, there's like, I'm not doing it justice by trying to tell you what it sounded like. It just really was irritating that I thought, does that physical therapist not see this? Let's see here. I'll go. Oh, here's another true crime thing. Let's see. I don't know what day that was. Let's see. Maybe it'll say. Man, all the headings are pretty much the same. They just say day 1, day 2. Yeah, I don't know how I'll find it. I'm going through the whole list and I don't see it. Well, I don't know. Maybe if we get really bored later on and it's hard for me to stay awake, then I'll find it. Oh, now I can't find you. Where are you? There you are. I found you. It just, to me, there's the word, unalived. That's exactly what I think, Angelica. That is exactly my opinion. I think that she knew that, I believe it. I think that she knew that they were going to have evidence of something. I don't know what exactly, but those trips to Mexico and stuff, I don't know. I think she probably figured that they had something. Only she knows if she was doing who knows what, right? But back to that whining, it just seemed to me that hearing that routine, I think that's one time where it would be good for people in a position of treating pediatric patients have some real life experience with their own kid. I think she learned at a young age that she could go, eh, eh, eh. And I think she got a lot of attention. A lot of attention. So for me, I don't think that Johns Hopkins did anything wrong at all. Here's the thing, I'll try to put it this way, and I don't know if this will make sense to you or not, but let's just say that they made a mistake. Let's just say that Johns Hopkins made a huge mistake by even beginning to suspect that Maya's mom was medically abusing her. Let's say they were wrong. Let's say they made a huge mistake. Did they ever intend to hurt Maya? I highly doubt it. Did they ever intend to make a mistake? Did they intend to cause the family grief or whatever? I doubt it. I think they were acting because they believed that Maya's mother was harming her. Now, let's just say they were wrong. I don't think they were wrong, but let's just say they were. If they were wrong, was it still wrong for them to report the mom? I say no. We do not want our hospitals and our doctors and our dentists and our teachers, we don't want people who are in service, right, in jobs where they come in contact with our children and grandchildren. We do not want them to be so hardened by a case like this. If Johns Hopkins is to lose and they've got to pay out over a couple $100 million, we don't want people in these professions to be so hardened by a case like this that they're afraid to report. What did Johns Hopkins do wrong? Part of the lawsuit is accusing them of having taken, accusing them of the unlawful imprisonment, Huh? They were just following the court order. Hospitals don't decide whether or not they're going to, you know, have a supervised whatever or no contact at all. Hospitals don't decide that. The judge decides that. I think there was a reason that Johns Hopkins felt so compelled that they would make a report and call in the caseworkers and voice their concerns. And I think there's a reason why the court ordered for supervision. I think as a society who, in this group anyway, we care about kids. I think we need to be careful when we start throwing lawsuits at hospitals and doctors. Think about this on a bigger scale. Are doctors always right? Is that part of, is it, I guess, is that the rule? If you're going to report, then you have to be right? What if you're wrong? What if you make a mistake? Do we expect doctors to always be right? Do we expect law enforcement to always be right? Because I got news for you. They F up a lot. They're not always right. Sometimes it's intentional on their part in the more corrupt agencies. Sometimes it isn't intentional at all, but they're not always right. Is your dentist always right? Is your ophthalmologist always right? Is your professor always right? Is your boss always right? No. Every single person involved with the case at Johns Hopkins is a human being. A human being. The one lady, I think she was either the caseworker or she was something. She was a pediatric something. I'm not sure if she worked for that other company or if she was for Johns Hopkins. But they're trying to like paint her out to be some kind of bad guy because Maya complained to her father that she didn't like her, that Maya didn't like that lady, and she claimed that that lady held her on her lap and stroked her hair and told her that um, I think she could be her mom or she could adopt her or something like that. What? What? Well, interestingly, that's not what the lady said. She couldn't even remember really if she ever held her on her lap, but she did remember Maya wanted to sit on her lap. And then the lawyer who was questioning her treated her like she was some kind of liar. And she tried to explain that that's part of her job, that she does comfort kids because he's like, who gave you permission? And then he tried to make it sound like she was some kind of weirdo who was trying to, do a, no, I won't say which president, but you know what I'm saying, through the hair stroking routine. It's like, no, 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 no. Does that lawyer who was questioning her have children of his own? If you're some kind of case supervisor, social worker, whatever, and you have a little girl who's a patient in the hospital and you're somehow in charge of being the one to sit there and, you know, listen in while her mother's on the phone trying to talk in code, I'm just saying, maybe she was, I don't know if she was. I hope you're the type of person who would hug a little child on your lap and stroke their hair and say everything will be okay or whatever, even though she did say that she did not say everything will be okay. And she doesn't believe she said that whole thing of a about being her mom or whatever. Who knows? But let's look at that. So the little girl, the one who went like this, ah, 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 that little girl told her dad that she didn't like that lady at the hospital, that she held her on her lap, and that she stroked her hair. But according to that lady, it was when they got word at the hospital that the court didn't go the way the family wanted it to. They wanted her to be released from the hospital and returned to the family before Christmas. The court didn't go how they wanted it to go. This lady was told to inform the child that she wasn't going to be home for Christmas. Well, I don't know. Are you a betting woman? Would you bet that the child is telling the truth, or would you bet that the social worker is telling the truth? And keep in mind, the 200 million doesn't affect the social worker. It's not like she's going to have any kind of problem, okay? She has no reason to lie. If you're a mom or a dad, you know that comforting a child who's upset about not going home for Christmas, especially if you're their daily contact Monday through Friday, you're going to give them a hug. But then the lawyer tried to make it sound sinister, which is weird. Ooh, we're at 1 hour and 4 minutes already. One down, four to go. I promised myself that we're going to take a beautiful music break on the hour pretty much. So that way everyone can, go get a snack, use the ladies' room or the men's room. I'm not trying to, be gender specific here. You know what I'm saying? Or gender biased. But I'm grinning. Wink, wink. But let's go ahead and take like a 5 minute break or whatever. I'll find some really silly song. I'll play it and then I'll come right back. See you soon. 4 or 5 minutes is my guess. Oh, hang on. Can you hear me? This is interesting. It's an advertisement for ITA Airways, and it's all about a trip to Italy. Remind me when we come back from our little break here, we should talk about traveling to Italy.
I'm just gonna fool around, man. Like, just do a thing, whatever.
This is the guy in the band saying it. So there we go. There's our little break. I was looking at your comments, and I agree completely. I think that both mother and daughter actually were able to manipulate. And I think that mother unalived herself because I think she thought she was caught. It was interesting when the father was on the stand and one of the lawyers asked him about the divorce. And he kept saying, well, it was to separate. It was a separation. And the lawyer kept asking about the divorce. Was it a divorce? And one of the counselors, didn't they say that the mom was stressed about the marital problems? Well, now, years later, the dad is saying, well, they just did that hoping that they'd be able to get Maya back. Really? Because how would that look exactly? But then they changed their mind. I can't remember exactly how he said it, but something about the son. how then she wouldn't be able to see the sun also, evidently. Really? Or could it be they were going through a divorce? Or a separation? How much money was spent on those treatments? Why would any parent sign their child up for such a risky procedure as putting them in a ketamine coma? Where was the dad? If we want to say that the mom was doing all this, where was the dad? And the dad is actually who brought her in to Johns Hopkins. Why? Was there a problem with that ketamine coma? You see what I'm saying? Why was the dad not just as suspect as the mom? Why? Why? I mean, okay, let's look at the case of Christopher Watts. Was it just his wife's responsibility to not be pouring Tylenol and Benadryl down Bella and Cece's, remember how Cindy Watts told us? They were like two little birdies. They'd lean their heads back and open their mouths wide like two little birdies. Think about it. It isn't just Christopher Watts' wife who was doing wrong. Can you hear one of the pugs snoring? Can you hear it? I can. He's the oldest of the three. The other two are going to have babies. They don't know it yet, but they're going to get pregnant next month. So you'll have the play-by-play on that. Anyway, why weren't the adults in Bella and Cece's life, why weren't they saying no to the Benadryl and Tylenol? Why wasn't Christopher Watts saying no? I agree, Angelica. I think one parent is passive, stands back and watches, the martyr, the hero, whatever. I mean, can you imagine you have your little girl in a wheelchair and you're heading off to Mexico with her and you're a nurse? Just imagine the attention. There's the word, complicit. That's the thing. And in the case with Johns Hopkins, I think Johns Hopkins did the right thing. Just from the little stuff that I've heard from the state's, not the state, from the plaintiff's case. Now, you would think if I'm hearing the plaintiff's case in chief, that I will be like thinking that the plaintiff should win big time. Because I haven't even heard the defense yet. But that isn't what's happening. Because the stuff I'm hearing so far, it's like I have yet to hear anything at all that would convince me that $1 should be paid to that family. Exactly. I talked about that before you got here, Critical. Welcome. I talked about that just a little bit. It bothers me that there was a Netflix documentary on this case. It bothers me. Ooh, hey, Angel. I have heard that. I'm curious, but I heard that that was already happening even before the tragedy. And so I was kind of curious if it was happening before the tragedy, because what I heard was that he was actually already living with her before the tragedy happened. So I'm curious when I'm hearing it again now, if maybe they never split up. Maybe, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? It'd be interesting for us to find out. I thought about something too, because everyone's impression. Oh, hold on. We might have barking dogs here a second. Everyone's impression, I think, I don't know everyone, but I think a lot of us are like, oh, gee, did you see that post where I thought it was Christopher Watt's father-in-law who actually was in a grocery store and he saw a tabloid and then he supposedly posted that, and then his son, Christopher Watt's brother-in-law, then posted what his dad had posted. But it's actually kind of weird because the words were on the son's post, not the dad's. The dad just posted the copy of the magazine, right? Or the cover. Okay, but wait a minute. Who was in the grocery store? Why is one posting it and the other one saying, yeah, well, I was in the grocery store, blah, blah, blah. So I think, I don't know, because you know my opinion anyway. I think when you have 0 or 1 like on a channel that you supposedly have over 40,000 subscribers, well, I'm thinking you have 0 to 1 person who's paying attention to the channel at any given time. Also, that magazine cover, they supposedly just went to the grocery store and saw it in the checkout. And how terrible is that they can't even grieve in a checkout, right? How are they supposed to be grieving in that checkout lane if they have to look and see that Christopher Watt's face is like 1/16th, maybe 1/20th, maybe 1/25th of the space on the magazine cover? Like, how dare that magazine? How dare that publisher? How dare they impede any family's right to grieve while they're getting groceries? Christopher Watt's extended family members deserve to be able to get groceries without having to see his ugly mug. Evidently, they're the only family in the world who deserves to be able to go to the grocery store without risking having to see the picture of the young man who, by the way, they, being both Christopher Watt's father-in-law and his brother-in-law, they both said some very, very respectful and kind and loving things about him after he supposedly committed those crimes. Shall we repeat it to try to see if we can find any logic or reason anywhere within what I just said? 5 years after the tragedy, one or the other, we don't know which, is heading through the grocery store, and their grieving had to be interrupted when they were in the checkout lane because there was a picture of a magazine that had a little tiny picture of their beloved relative who they both have said really nice things about. And then one or the other both posted it. We don't know for sure by whom. On a channel with over 40,000 subs, yet nobody's liking any of the comments, although there are a lot of comments. It's kind of noticeable that a lot of the comments sound exactly the same. You know what I think? I think everybody, this is just my opinion, for what it's worth, I think everybody who has given money to any GoFundMe or to any crowd justice or to any t-shirt sale or any fundraiser whatsoever at all associated with the case of Christopher Watts, I think anybody who has donated money for supposedly creating a law, nobody could ever define what the law was or what it was, supposed to achieve or what its purpose would be. And then that went by the wayside. Now it's evidently to sue the online trolls. And I got to tell you something. I got an interesting email. And it pointed out that in the person who sent me the email, in her opinion, she said that it looks like the crowd justice thingy is changed, is different now than it was. According to the person who sent me the email, they believe that crowd justice thing used to have the specific name of who they were going after in the UK. But now, according to the person who sent the email, they've changed it, and it's just a more generic, generalized whatever, going after the trolls. So after I saw that email, I thought, oh, that's interesting. I'll go take a peek. I don't think I left that window open. Let me see if I still have it. I'm going to read this. I don't know if you can hear me when I have this other window open. I'll try it. Let me know if you can hear me right now. Let's see, I put crowd justice and then the name. Justice for Suffering Family. Yeah. Justice for Suffering Family of Murdered Pregnant Mom and Her Children. Why does it seem that we're supposed to believe in the true crime community that there's only one family suffering on this planet? Have you lost a loved one recently? Have you lost a loved one in the last year? Have you lost a loved one in the last 2 years? Have you lost a loved one in the last 3 years? I know I'm being redundant here, and I'm going to continue. Have you lost a loved one in the last 4 years? Have you lost a loved one? I'm getting tongue twisted here. Have you lost a loved one in the last 5 years? How many loved ones have you lost? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10, 12? Depending how old you are. 10 or 12 is not that over the top. If you're ancient. Yet there's a crowd justice on the heels of a GoFundMe, right on the heels of a fundraiser for this and a fundraiser for that, right on the heels of if somebody would pay for my plane ticket, right on the heels of Outback Steakhouse. Are you kidding me? Right on the heels of the prosecutor's office allowing funds to be dispersed from a victims fund. And in the middle of it all, the insurance policy, really? An insurance policy for a supposedly grown woman who didn't list her children as the beneficiaries? That kind of sounds like the same kind of mom who had 2 kids in daycare all day, all week long. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong about daycare, but if you're going to be sitting on your butt at home, yeah. The same mom who called her children monsters. The same mom who was excited because she found a doctor who was going to do surgery on both kids. The same mom who was excited because both kids had asthma. The same mom who didn't go to the OBGYN when she was claiming she was pregnant. The same mom who talked a lot about drinking while she was pregnant. The same mom who, when she died, had a BAC level of 0.128 while claiming she was pregnant. The same mom, according to Cindy Watts, who threatened her husband that he would never see Bella and Cece again. Well, I guess it would fit then that she wouldn't name her own children as her beneficiary, right? I'm sorry, but if you're not even going to go to the OBGYN and you're going to claim you're 15 weeks pregnant, there's something wrong with that picture. Well, in my opinion, there's something wrong with the picture of crowd justice too. And I think there was a problem with the picture of GoFundMe. I think there was a problem with even the life insurance policies, plural. Buku bucks. Mega mega. Why? Does money help people grieve? I don't think so. Well, let's go ahead and explore because, like I said, I received that email just the other day and it's like, oh, well, I'll go take a peek. So when I looked at it, I was kind of looking for what she was saying in the email, that it's no longer focused so much on one person's name, one guy from the UK, but it's more like a generalized whatever, that the trolls are harassing them. And that somehow, if they get money, then they're going to be able to, put a stop to it all. Really? I mean, I'm just trying to be real here, you guys. Kind of like along the same lines as, how the hell does anyone think that they're not going to have a picture of a true crime case in a checkout lane at the grocery store? What do they want? Do they want to raise money to fight with grocery stores? Is that what they want? I don't know. Do they want to raise money? Maybe, I don't know, Rzucek versus Kroger or something? I don't know. Rzucek versus Spartan stores? I don't know, Wegmans? Who are they really mad at? I don't know. But maybe is that what they want? Is to raise money or raise awareness, I guess, and then raise money to raise awareness and raise more money to raise more awareness? That they can't even go to the grocery store. Can't even go to the grocery store without having to interrupt their grieving. Let's take a look at the crowd justice. Let's see. Latest update, March 24th, 2023. Really? That's the latest update? I wonder why that lady sent me the email then. If the latest update was March 24th. Oh, well. Okay. Let's see here. I hope you can hear me okay. Okay, this thing says 7 days to go. So they have 58,575 pounds, and they have 7 days to go. What, until they switch their target again? Because they just keep switching their target. Interesting. So let's read down and see what let's try to focus on, let's see what their issue is, okay? Who I am. My name is Frankie. On 13 August 2018. Oh, yeah, he wrote that for sure. Hello. Seems to me if Frankie would have written this, then he would have dated it like we do in the United States, not like they do in the United Kingdom. Okay, my only sister, Shanann Watts, Now there he's calling her Watts. That's interesting because every once in a while we see the name Rzucek behind Christopher Watts' wife's name. And we also have seen it every once in a while behind Bella and Cece's name too, haven't we? Which is why I titled this live chat, her name was Bella Watts, not Rzucek. Okay, so let's see. It starts out talking about how they were brutally murdered by her husband. Okay. Following several days of attempting to conceal the murders and manipulating the police. Really? And he's saying that he suffocated them and dumped their bodies. Really? Is that how they died? That's not what we were told, is it? So it says that he suffocated them. Well, that's interesting that the story's changing. Let's see. Okay, this sentence structure is interesting. My sister, quote, my sister, nor my beautiful nieces and soon to be nephew did not deserve the tragic fate that was met before them. I wonder who's writing this for him. Oh, here we go with the narrative. My sister was an inspiration to many. She was a strong, selfless woman. Selfless? Are you kidding me? Who worked hard for her family and adored her children in every possible way, except spending time with them or not calling them monsters, or at Christmas time when she mocked them while they cried hysterically. And here's that word, whilst, Whilst, whilst my nieces with their precious smiles and kind little hearts had their whole lives ahead of them. It is nearly impossible to describe the devastation of my family. You know, that's true. I mean, let's face it. It was a tragedy. No doubt. It was a huge tragedy. And there for a while, everyone's hearts went out to them, right? There for a while. Each day that passes by, my mother, my father, and I mourn the death of our beloved family and pray that their souls rest ever so peacefully. I just don't get the feel that he wrote these words. Why am I raising funds? It says. Following the murder of my sister and her children in 2018, my family and I have been attacked on social media by online trolls from all over the world. Okay, I'm going to interject something here. Have you ever seen them attacked? I haven't. I'll keep reading. These online trolls are sending us floods of threatening, bullying, and abusive messages, many of which, in a sick way, blame my sister for her own murder, and suggest my family and I have taken bribes to conceal parts of the murder investigation in an attempt to free the actual culprits. I just don't think this is in his vocabulary at all. And I have never seen any evidence whatsoever of anybody sending floods of threatening, bullying, and abusive messages or any messages at all to anybody in the family. Now, I think what they might have is perhaps whoever they've approached and asked them to do some dirty work. Because if you listen to the people, listen to just Kelly for one, she has some stories to tell about, she knows some stuff. Take a look at Alice Cooper. Take a look at the people they associate with. I think it's very interesting that a young man who supposedly posted the phone numbers of people he wanted to have others harass on his behalf would be so daring as to say, and I don't mean courageous, there's a difference, to say that that's happening to him? Is he talking about how he feels about his behavior? Is he talking about the irony, really, that somebody like him, who was posting people's phone numbers and saying, keep calling these phone numbers until they have to get a new phone, that now he's claiming he's being harassed? He talks about slander and defamation and everything. Well, does he care about the slander and defamation that he's committed against those of us that he's been attacking? I don't know. Let's keep reading and see. So, okay, it deeply saddens him, blah, blah, blah. Okay. He's mad because online trolls have gone to such lengths to dishonor, and it's spelled the English way, O-U-R. So, yeah, he really wrote this, really? So, anyway, to dishonor my sister and my family by fabricating slanderous, callous, and outright false claims about us. I don't get why he doesn't get that true crimers talk about true crimes. And true crimers, when they talk about true crimes, we talk about what might have happened. So that whole fabricating slanderous blah, 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 what? Because he doesn't like our opinions, then he wants to call it all this crap? No. No, I think the best thing for that family to do would be to get the heck off of social media, turn off their computers, go get a job, meet people, connect with people, get out of the house. Forget the online thing. Okay, so he says that they worked alongside the director of the documentary and stood in full support of the documentary. Now that surprises me because people who have watched that documentary actually shared with me that they think the documentary made it look like Christopher Watt's wife did it. So I'm surprised that they stand in full support of the documentary. But this also makes me kind of wonder, maybe it was the director who wrote this crowd justice thing. I betcha. I betcha if the director's getting a big high five in here, betcha she probably wrote it for him. They stood in full support of the documentary because it gave my family and I a platform to voice the truth, silence the online trolls, raise awareness for domestic violence. Are you kidding me? Maybe raise awareness for the battered male syndrome, just my opinion, and highlight the sheer evilness committed by Watts or the sheer evilness committed by the people attacking innocent people in the true crime community. Sheer evilness. Wow, this would have been the wishes of my late sister. What would have been? She was the one harassing people online. We've had people jump up on our panels saying that she wouldn't leave them alone and they had to change their phone number because she wouldn't stop harassing us. Oh my goodness. Okay, despite this, one of the main instigators of this harassment campaign, there is no harassment campaign. They want to see a harassment campaign? Take a look at who they associate with what they're doing to other people. Continued to harass and attack our family. Plus, let's see, this user is UK based and has dedicated a substantial amount of his time dissecting my sister's murder case. No, he hasn't. His whole thing. Oh, how can I say this? Oh, whatever. Whatever. Let's see. Dissecting my sister's murder case, and in the process of doing so, has invented many unfounded theories and claims about my sister and our family. What? Just to name a few, he has asserted that there was an accomplice to the murders committed, that I hold a criminal record, not me, but him, and that we as a family are profiting from these tragedies. Oh, this is an interesting sentence. Let's go over this one again. Just to name a few, he, meaning the UK guy, has asserted that there was an accomplice to the murders committed. Well, guess what, Frankie? A lot of us in the true crime community actually do believe that maybe the story that we've been told isn't actually the case. There are a lot of people in the true crime community who do not believe that Christopher Watts killed anybody. So what? So what? So next he says that I hold a criminal record. I don't know if you hold a criminal record or not, Frankie. I don't really care. What I care about is the fact that you lied about me and my family on your YouTube channel. That's what I care about. So as I read this, I'm like, this is interesting. And I'll continue, quote, that we as a family are profiting from these tragedies. Well, you're not. You're on a monetized channel. Life insurance, victims funds, fundraisers. You're not profiting? Really? GoFundMe? Crowd justice? You're not profiting? Okay, we'll continue here. Quote, this internet user has amassed a fan base of so far 66.6, sure, subscribers who, like him, have also developed an unhealthy obsession. Oh my goodness. An unhealthy obsession with the murder. Back it up and think about this. You know that we still talk about the case of Charles Lindbergh, right? The Lindbergh baby. That was over 80 years ago. We still talk about OJ. That was back probably before you probably didn't graduate. Think about it. Diane Downs, what was that, 1983? That would have been a couple years after your sister was born. We talk about the case of Betty Broderick. That happened in 1989. About 8 or 9 years after, we think, most of us anyway, that your sister was born. Why would we stop talking about this case? If we're still talking about the case of the Lindbergh baby, why would we stop talking about the case of Christopher Watts just 5 years later? If we're still talking about a case 80 years after it happened? Well, the answer is obvious. We're not going to stop talking about it. It doesn't mean we're obsessed with it. It doesn't mean that there's an unhealthy obsession. I'm quoting from the Crowd Justice. It means that we're true crimers on social media, and that's what we do. We talk about true crime cases. That's it. Nothing more and nothing less. Seems like the official narrative is so far off what our opinions are about what really happened. The online trolls and internet user responsible for the cruel campaign of harassment. You want to see cruel campaign of harassment and defamation? Maybe you and I seriously should talk. And I can tell you, you feel free to call me, Frankie, and I can fill you in on the definition of harassment and defamation that my family and I have had to endure because people who claim that they're working for you not you, but your mother, think it's cool to harass my family? Think it's cool to harass my employer? Think it's cool to post lies about my family and me? I don't know, guys. Maybe I should do a GoFundMe. Because it sure is interesting to me that somebody who I have never seen be harassed is claiming exactly what has actually happened to me. It's very interesting. The irony is screaming. Screaming. So let's scroll down and see under the heading, why he's asking for support on the crowd justice. Okay, with the support of my solicitors. Boy, that was really written by him, right? It seems to me that if it was written by somebody who lived in the United States, they would use the word lawyer, not solicitors, or they would use the word attorney, not solicitors. But it is what it is. Oh, it's an award-winning social media specialist firm. Is that how he talks? I don't think so. I don't think so. Who have agreed to work on our case under reduced legal fees. Yeah, sure. We are planning to commence, not start, not begin. We are planning to commence a case of harassment, blah, 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 against a number of the positively identified online trolls. Wow. As a family, we have limited means. Well, actually, I don't know if they're limited means when you consider the unlimited number of fundraisers. So I don't know. We hope that you, as good, generous, and justice-seeking people, will support us in bringing. So, as good, generous, and justice-seeking people, or as people who have, I don't know. I won't say it. Oh, here we go. Here's a goal. It says all we want. So this will tell us then, right? If the sentence starts off saying all we want, then I guess we're going to expect this to be all they want. So let's see. All we want is for Christopher Watt's wife, Bella Celeste, did they call her? Okay, Shanann, Bella Marie, Celeste, and Nico's legacy to be respected. That's all they want, is for their legacy to be respected. That's all they want. That's all they want. So why do they have to get money for that? Let's see. With your generous help and support, my family and I will be able to bring this injustice, what injustice, to an end and put a stop to the harassment we are receiving from the online trolls and internet user. What harassment? Where is the evidence that they have ever been harassed? Do they think that simply by somebody having a YouTube channel and having an opinion that they don't like, that they can call that harassment? Is that what they think? Is that what he's trying to do, is to make people too afraid to continue to state their opinion? Would it be a little bit disingenuous for him to have said, all we want, right, is for people to respect their legacy? Their legacy? A 13 to 15 week fetus that the mother didn't even see an OBGYN, and he has a legacy? And how do they even know it's a he? A 13 to 15 week 13 to 15 week fetus whose mother did not seek any prenatal care, has a legacy? Cece at age 3 has a legacy? Bella, who wasn't even old enough to start kindergarten, even though we were told she was starting at kindergarten. Bella has a legacy? Really? Now, I think when it comes to Christopher Watt's wife having a legacy, I think that might be where the rub is. I think that might be the problem. I'm not sure. But again, I have not seen any evidence whatsoever that the family has ever been harassed. So if I'm missing something, please put it in the chat. Tell me, what am I missing? Have you seen the family ever be harassed? I've seen Christopher Watt's family being harassed. That's on a regular basis. But I've never seen Christopher Watt's in-laws being harassed. Have you? I agree, Brooke. I agree. In my opinion, also, the kids were the only ones who were innocent. I'm reading all the comments right now, you guys. Yeah, good point, Kitty Woody. We were told by Christopher Watt's father-in-law that we'll never know the truth, right? P.S. I adore you says, go ahead and sue me next. I love this name. Yes, Anita, I agree. And I think you have a funny name. Anita says the fact people talk about this case allowed Sandy to make her millions. I don't know that it's millions, but I think that that's probably the goal or the delusion, one or the other. Exactly right, Anita, exactly. You can't grieve if you're selling your story to every media and streaming platform, pushing their story further into the public spotlight. So they want to be able to push their narrative into the spotlight. But boy, oh boy, if somebody says something that maybe they don't like, boo-hoo, that's harassment. That's harassment. How can they grieve? Victoria says that she agrees with you, Anita. I think you're right. I think so, green beans, as far as anyone knows. Anita says they're almost at 2 million already. Not okay. Not okay. Remember how they were going to do Shanann's law? Well, maybe we should do a Bella's law. Maybe there should be a limit to extended family members who are collecting money off of a tragedy. Yes, about that trip to Italy. Have you guys heard? Evidently, I don't know. Maybe there's a GoFundMe or something that we're not aware of that's a vacation travel fund. I don't know. But rumor has it that the R family is heading to Italy for a vacation. Personally, I don't know if I believe it. I don't know if I believe it. I think one of the three might be ready to roll and go get some new purses. But I don't think the other two would be all that hell bent on going anywhere, especially over the water. Is it a trip for the Rzuceks, though? Or is it a trip for one Rzucek? A little shopping in London, a little shopping in Rome, a little shopping in Paris. I don't know. I just don't see the other two as being world travelers. I don't even see her as being a world traveler, but I could see her thinking it would be cool to get purses from all those cities. It's a cute question, Brooke. Yes, I think you can. But that is a cute question. I think you're right, Anita, and I think that the money actually is going directly to them too. I think the way that the crowd justice thing is worded is a little bit disingenuous. I think people think that they're just pledges. I don't think so. I think they're going right into their hands, that the dollars are going right to the family, not to any law firm. If it's their second trip, then maybe they have more fundraisers than we're aware of. Well, that's what I think we should do. We should figure out how to do a fundraiser and plan on taking a trip somewhere. I don't have to go to Italy, but I think it would be fun to go somewhere big. We could meet up and have a meet and greet, I think is what they used to call them. A meet and greet. I wonder if the Rusek family would call us having a meet and greet in a city far, far away from them, if they would call that harassment. I wonder if that's the kind of thing they call harassment. Is anyone who openly points a finger and says, yeah, we don't believe the way that story's being told. And if we have a meet and greet and we're laughing and having fun, I wonder if they'd point their finger at us and go, they're harassing us because we don't like what they're saying. Hey, Nola. You know what, Anita? I've wondered that too. I think you could be right. I agree, Angelica. I doubt they would care as long as their funds kept rolling. What? Brooke, tell us more.